Hi, everyone. It's Kim. Thanks for joining me. I am in need of a few treat boxes, and since Halloween is only a few weeks away, that is how I'm going to be decorating mine. But these are perfect for, say, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or the winter holidays, any occasion where you might just need a little something extra, either for your table setting or just to hand out to special people. So let's get started because my goal here was to use what I already have. And the first thing I did was go around and pull out all of my dies that made some kind of a container, whether it be a box, a sack, a pillow box, whatever you have, even an envelope die would work. And then I went and pulled out some dies that were not necessarily Halloween. And then, of course, I dug out my Halloween stash to use to decorate all of my little characters. So, my first one is a monster. I figured we will have some humans dressed up as monsters. So, why could not a monster dress up with a human character? And these first two boxes are going to someone. They're for two little girls who are sisters. So I thought I'll make them different, but somewhat the same. So hopefully there's no argument. My little monster, actually, this is a dragon. This is a dancing birthday dragon from Spellbinders. She is so cute. And then I just gave her some little hats, a witch hat, and then she's got some candy corn or corn candy. And the little witch hat is from Tim's Vault die. This is the Vault Wicked. Now, some of the dies I'm using are old, and some of them, I'll tell you, the pumpkins, I just grabbed them from wherever. So I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. Look at what you have and how you can decorate your characters. If you're into Halloween, I'm sure you have some very basic Halloween dies at a minimum with pumpkins, candy, hats, whatever you need. The corn candy is from the Wendy Vecchi Halloween add-on die with the cat that we looked at previously. So we'll take a look at that again here shortly. But I like the slider box from Karen Berniston. It's sort of like a matchbox, but it's a little bigger and a little longer than some of the other ones that I have. And this is why I like it. I could really put a nice amount of candy in there. And trust me, when I was at Walmart looking at all the candy, I was checking out the size because I want it small enough that I could put more than just one piece in in these boxes. So this is a nice size. The other thing that I did, because I want to do this quickly, sadly, after the candy's gone and Halloween is over, these will probably get pitched. So I didn't want to spend hours on each one, and I used double-sided paper so I didn't have just a plain side on the inside. And then that way I didn't have to use all these extra dies to cut out and layer to cover up the inside and the outside of my box. That just saved me time. So when I was going through my Halloween paper, I pulled out the paper pads that were double sided. So two cute little dragons for two little girls, for two sisters. Now they have a brother, so, of course, we can't leave him out. We need to make his a little different. So, I pulled out a different monster die, and this guy is dressed up as Count Dracula. And this is the dancing birthday monster. I used this guy right here and just added some different decorative pieces to him. The hat and the tie, I can tell you, is from an old Tim Halloween die. The pumpkin, there again, I'm not really sure. I had the pumpkin die. I'm going to guess probably one of Tim's dies. And then I had to just cut the little handle, which was simple to do. And the candy is either Spellbinders or Tim Holtz. Honestly, I cannot remember. That's where I just say, get out what you have and use what you have. Now, this paper, the back side of it or the other side was the spider web, and I was going to put him on the spider web, but I love this paper, and since Count Dracula is on this and the monster's dressed up as the Count, I decided to put him on, but he kind of blended in, so I just cut out a rectangle from a nested die set. This is, I believe, a Karen Berniston die set, just to pop him off the background a little bit, but I just love this little guy. The fangs are from this die set. So the fangs are actually his horns that I used here. And then I did give him horns up there, but I needed a little bigger fang than this guy had here. So again, just play with them and have fun. That's what it's all about. And of course, I filled his up with candy as well. So I used this other guy. I thought, oh, I'll make this other monster too. And I've decided to do a pillow box. This is from Tim's Vault pillow box and bag from this year. This came out this year. And I thought I'll combine those two because this is a good sized pillow box. So here that one is. This guy really kind of maybe over decorated a little bit. The hat and the mustache are from a Tim Holtz die. The pumpkins, I seem to be using this one again, either Tim or Spellbinders. I honestly can't remember which, but I just decorated him up. The candy or the corn candy is from the Wendy Vicky Halloween add-on with that cat. This time I had eyes on this guy. I did have his eyes, and I thought, you know what? Let's stick some pumpkins up there. That's more in the spirit of the holiday. And he has his one eyeball, and he's a handsome little man with his hat and mustache. The paper I used this time isn't even truly Halloween, but it's the colors of the season, and he seems to be having a good time, so it worked. And then I can fill a fair amount of candy up in this box as well. Depending on what kind of candy, that may determine kind of what kind of container that you want to use. And I want to talk about a totally different container and show you this because I do like these. So let me show you this one. This has 3 of those Hershey, what are those called? Hershey Nuggets. And this container is from My Favorite Things. So they also have the lip balm pouch, which we have looked at before, but I thought, oh, I'll try this little nugget thing here. It does have a coordinating die set, but I wasn't sure how many of these I really was going to make. So at this time, I thought, I'm not going to buy the die set just for a use 1 or 2 times. I'm going to see if I can come up with something on my own. If I decide, hey, I have to make a bunch of these little Hershey Nugget treats, then I will buy the die set. But I want to quickly show you how I did it without purchasing a die set. I love the skeleton hand, so I knew I was going to combine those 2 things. So let me show you really quickly what I did to come up with my own layout because I need to be able to access this in the back. And that's what the coordinating die set would allow me to do. Access it in the back, give me the piece to cover it, and then the frame around the plastic container. But I'm going to show you what I did. I have the lip balm container and the coordinating die set, so I at least kind of knew where to start with this. The first thing that I did here was I needed to make a pattern, and I'm going to show you that. But just so we can handle this easier, when you put your little nuggets in here, they're going to fall out. So I need to be able to handle this and not always be fighting these little pieces of candy coming out. So this is what I did. I put some 1/8 inch score tape around the edge here of my plastic container on the back side. And then I'm going to put some foil on it. And then that way I don't have to deal with these things falling out. And then when my recipient opens it, it won't fall out on them. We'll take a look at that again here in just a sec. So just put that tape on. I have a little piece of foil cut out, and I'm just going to press that on. And then I'll just trim around the edge here. I can see that plastic, and I can just quickly trim around that edge. And these scissors aren't the best at cutting out this foil for whatever reason. Okay. And now I can work with this, and I don't have my candy falling out all the time. And when my recipient gets it and they open the back door, it looks kind of professional there. to have that foil, then they can puncture the foil and get the candy out. But when they open the door, then it won't just be falling out on them either. So now I needed to have an opening in my cardstock. So let me show you what I did really quickly. This is kind of my pattern to start with. You can see how I, made some different lines, played with it. When I was all done, I thought, simplify it. So basically, if you don't have the die, here's the measurements for the opening on the card. 1 3/8 by 2 7/8. So I made this as my template. And I took a piece of, this is going to be my decorator paper, my printed cardstock. Don't you love my pattern? I laid this down wherever. So you figure out where you want it. It could be anywhere on your card base. It doesn't have to just be in one spot. You could just do whatever you want. So I laid this out and laid my hand out before I actually cut the hole in my cardstock. Trace around this. Take your X-Acto knife and a ruler, cut it out. And now I have my opening. Now, I am putting this on top of this. You may want to make a little larger opening so you can bring it through. And this almost fits. It needs just to be a little bigger. But because of the way I was doing the back side, I elected just to put this on top. And then I'll open it from the back side. So once I got this done, I cut out my card base and I laid this on top and I adhered it, because I don't want to cut a hole in this and then try to line these back up. So I actually adhered my printed cardstock on top of my solid cardstock. Then I got my ruler and my X-Acto knife out. I cut along the top and bottom and down the center. So I would have my door. And then I took a tool just to score on the sidelines so that my door would be hinged and wouldn't be falling off. I'm going to pull this back. Normally, if you had adhered this, you couldn't do it, but this way you can see kind of what I did. Cut top and bottom and down the center, scored along the sides, but I could do that with this already attached, and then I'm not struggling to line up my holes again. After I did that, I put the 1/8 inch score tape around like the white edge here, and then attach this so that you're kind of working a little more blind like this. So I just took off the top piece of score tape, tried to line this up as best I could, and then I could flip it over and open the door to see that it was lined up. And if it was, then I pulled off the rest of the liners and stuck this down. Not that hard to do, but that saved me from having to buy a die that I would maybe use 1 or 2 times. So then to finish off the front of this, because we want to cover up this edge here, I was digging through my dies looking for the container dies, and I came across this one from My Favorite Things as well. This makes a frame, so all these little pieces can make a different size frame. Now, I realize not everybody has this. I know there's other dies like this out there, and I could line my pieces up. I could lay these down and find the pieces that best matched. The one that went across the top was a little too long, and since that's on the top here, I used this, cut it out, measured it, then I drew a little line after I measured it. So then the piece that I had originally cut out, I just lined up that edge, ran it through again, and cut this end. And now it fit perfectly. But what are you going to do if you don't have this die? Pretty easy to make this. And I'm going to give you the measurements. So if this is something you're interested in, it isn't going to be hard. This is a 1/2 inch wide. So you could just cut a strip a 1/2 inch wide and then cut it up. So the long edge on this is 3 7/8. The short edge is 3 inches, and then this is just a 45-degree angle. And then on the short piece, the long edge is 2 3/8, and the short edge is 1 1/2. So again, just make a couple templates, and then you are good to go. You can lay this down, mark your edges on your strip of paper, and in no time you'll have a frame. And then I just laid that down and adhered it. My skeleton hand is from Spellbinders. Let's see here. What did I do with that hand? Here it is. The Booze Cocktail. Love, love, love this hand. And this time I didn't even have to cut the joints. I did just cut this forefinger off a little because I thought I am not going to try to get that under the frame like it's holding it. I just laid it. I used a glue dot to attach the thumb, glued the wrist down and laid this down and then just marked where I needed to cut that finger so it would butt up nice against that frame. And then the For You is from Tim's Halloween Vault die of this year, the Vault Coffin box. So love that alphabet, and there we go. So again, if I were going to make, say I had to make a bunch of these, I would get the die set. That would save me some time. But now that I've got my pattern made and I found a die for the frame, or I would know how to do that, and maybe you'll have a nesting die that's the right size, you could use that. Then I can crank these out a lot faster without having to invest in another die that may not get a lot of use. So let's go back to some easier ones after that. If you aren't doing nuggets, you can always find another container. So I talked about this one last time. This is that essential envelope that went with the kitty that we looked at. And I didn't have this at that time, but I do now. So I thought, oh, let me put that to use. And I made another little kitty one, and this was perfect for a candy bar. I thought, wow, that's great. This envelope is so simple. It's basically one die, cut it out, fold it over, fold the tabs in, and you are done. And now I've got all these other flower dies and leaf dies that I can use in a future project. But I wanted to combine it with the kitty. So that's what I did. And then the candy is from an old Tim die here. And I know there are other dies out there with candy. So use what you have. And then I thought, oh, I need something at the top of the cat's head. So I used the Boo. And this is from the Vault Gothic Portraits from Tim, also from this year. So after I got this done, I was looking at it and I thought, oh, I wish I had put a witch hat on this cat instead of the Boo. So I thought, well, I got a backside. So just for this, I made another cat with the witch hat and then just used the stamp. I needed something to kind of push that cat up a little bit off the bottom there. So I used just the Boo or the October 31st and just stamped it continuously on a piece of paper to trim out the bottom. Now, I probably wouldn't put the cat on both sides. You could. I should have just put maybe the witch on one side and Boo on the back if I felt like I needed to have a sentiment. This witch hat is from the Booze Cocktail as well. But again, use whatever witch hat or whatever hat you want, or you don't even have to use a hat. But my kitty is not in a traditional color here. And on this side, this cat is one of those that is made with the dropout pieces for like from this cat over here and then backed with yellow paper. And we talked about that last time. So I can get two kind of different looks of kitties out of the same die set. So another die that I like that is a great container is the pizza box from Elizabeth Craft. This makes a good sized container. So I wanted to make this. And this one would be perfect for like a cookie. If only I had a big cookie wrapped up to put into my box. But since I don't have a cookie, I figured this is perfect for some of those nuggets. Any candy, but boy, I could line these nuggets up in here too. If it was somebody that I really wanted to give a lot of chocolate to. Just think how many of those nuggets I could get in there. And the same thing with this one. This has some frames for layering, but I didn't want to have to go through all that work, to be honest. So I found some double-sided paper. So all I had to do was make the box. Again, this one is so simple. One piece, fold up on the lines and put it together. Now, my little monster for this one is also Elizabeth Craft die. I love this little guy. This is called Monsters 3. And I don't even know if this die is available anymore. So there again, just if you want a monster, see what you've got, or any kind of die that you can decorate for Halloween would work on the pizza box. But if you have this guy, I love him because I can move his feet around. He doesn't have to just be standing. This time he's kind of doing the splits and sitting down. I've done it where he's had like one leg down and one leg up like he's dancing. So I can change him around. I gave him a witch hat too, and that is from this witch. I've gotten a lot of use out of this witch hat. And the broom also comes from this vault die from Tim. Again, Vault Wicked. So he's a different look. I really seem to get into decorating the monsters this year. Now, for the kids that we talked about, there's a little story behind this. And we know their parents or his dad professionally. He's a CPA. And he was telling us how he is the one that takes the kids around on Halloween. And after the kids go to bed, he raids their candy stash, and his wife must have gotten on him. And he said, well, it's the dad tax. That's why he was raiding their candy stash, and he called it the dad tax. So dad's got his own container. This is a very old die, a fry box I got way back when. Let's see, this is from Lifestyle Crafts. So this is old. And you can see how big it is. But I figured if Dad had enough candy, he wouldn't be raiding his kids' little boxes here. So on the front, we've got Frank. I've always loved this die from Spellbinders. This is called Let's Be Frank. I figured that was perfect for him. And then for my words, Dad tax, I wanted something that I was going to use the typewriter alphabet first from Tim, but I thought, ooh, this one's better. It fits more with Frank's head. This one is called Wood Slice, and this has been out for a while. I think this came out for Valentine's Day. So that's his little fry box filled up, and then on the back I put ask about refunds. So I think the kids need to ask Dad to give them a refund on the candy that he took out of their little candy containers. So that's for Dad. And if we do one for Dad, that means we need to do one for Mom. So let me show you what I did for Mom. She's got a little different container, but I used the witch hat and the witch legs for her. More like a shopping bag. It holds quite a bit of candy too for Mom. And then this die, this little sack, I know there's a bunch out there. This is an older one from My Favorite Things, but it made a good sized bag. So again, I just went through my stash and pulled out dies that I totally had forgotten about, some of these, and just used them for containers. And again, if you don't have something, I bet you have a little bag you can decorate. I bet you have some kind of a little box that you could decorate, even an envelope. So just look around and see what you already have in your stash. So now that I've covered all the two-legged trick-or-treaters, I thought, in my life I have 2 dogs. They are my children. So I needed to do something for their friends. And I had this wolf or treat die from this year from Spellbinders. And I pulled out the Candy Hearts die from Karen Burniston because it was the perfect size for their friends. And so I made 2 different ones, one with a sack, and that is from Tim's die, his vault die, this little stack here. This again is from the vault pillow box and bag. So you can see that's still a pretty good size envelope, but I have these little treats, these little bitty bones that fit in here perfectly. So I've got 2 girls. They have numerous dog friends on their walks. So if there's some special friends, they can hand these out to their buddies. And this box is nice too. It's a little bigger, so this might be for a little bigger dog that would eat more of the little treats than maybe a little dog would. Again, I used double-sided paper, so I didn't have to add any extra decoration. So that covers both the 2-legged and the 4-legged trick-or-treaters. And again, if you aren't into Halloween, pick your favorite holiday And I'm sure there's a reason that you can come up with to make little treats for your guests, for whatever occasion. Even think of birthdays, baby showers, wedding showers. Valentine's Day is coming up. There's a holiday that is perfect for chocolate. So I hope that gives you some ideas, whether it be for Halloween or whether it be for another occasion. And I thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again in a future video.